Hey everybody, Movie Review Next Door here, and yeah, I'm not using the headset, waiting for the new computer. Something's up with the headphone jack on this one, and I can't really replace it, and I've had this one for like 3 years, so thought it would be a good idea to replace it anyway. So, um, this review is of a film. I don't know if anybody really knows about it. It's kind of a, you know, not well known movie, but it's called Blind Revenge, or A Closed Book. This film is from some places say 2009, some places say 2010. Um, Directed by Raul Ruiz, starring Daryl Hannah, Tom Conti, Simon McCorkindale, and Miriam Margolyes. Now, in this film, Jane appears to be ideal. Having a hard time reading. Attractive, intelligent, unruffled by her employer's abrupt eccentricities. But gradually we become aware that Jane has another agenda. Incrementally, Sir Paul's familiar surroundings are altered. His housekeeper is diverted away, strange things happen around the house, and he becomes increasingly dependent on his new assistant. So, what do I think of this film? Now, I don't know how long I'm going to make this review because I don't really want to give too much away. I'm going to have a small... Well, no, I won't spoil it. I'll just make this a bit of a shorter review. It's supposed to come soon, so don't worry. I think it's a decent thriller. This is one that I actually watched on YouTube. It's available on Movie Central. I'll link it down below in the description. And I'll talk about some issues with it as well. But this is a pretty taut thriller, psychological thriller. Takes your expectations and twists them up a bit. Interesting plot twists, interesting characters, and yeah, didn't have a bad time with it. I liked it. But yeah, the cast. Daryl Hannah is Jane Ryder. She's a woman brought in to be the basically, she's brought into she's trying to get this job with this art critic to help him write his last book because he is blind. Daryl Hannah, I don't hate her as an actress. I think she's alright usually. I think her best performances have been in the Kill Bill films. I never saw Splash. She was in a film called... what was it? A Hitman in London, which she was decent in that. She was in The Job, which I will say I was really disappointed with that. It was like a hitman drama with her playing a hitman. Like, it should have been quite a bit better. Maybe someday I'll revisit that, but that was such a rough watch. But yeah, she does a decent job here for the most part. There are bits where her acting goes in and out. There's a small bit of her trying to be... She's trying to act sad in the scene, or because she did something wrong and she's like apologizing for it, and I don't exactly buy her in the scene. I think it's just not a great performance in that scene. But for the most part in the film, I think she does her job well. Tom Conti as Sir Paul. He's a blind. After a car crash, he becomes blind. He's a art critic. But yeah, I've not seen a lot of his films. I know that people like he's a well-respected actor. But I liked him here. I thought he was very interesting. He's very eccentric. He's a bit bossy for sure. But yeah, I liked him in the film. I'd like to check out more stuff from him. Simon McCorkindale is Andrew Bowles. He's I think what's the right term? I guess he's an agent for Tom Conti's character's books. He's fine. He's there for one scene. I've liked him ever. I've not. I don't mind Simon McCorkindale. He was in Death on the Nile. He was fine there. And Miriam Margolyes as Miss Kilbride. She is the cook for Sir Paul. I've always liked her since Babe and other movies. She's a big character actress. She's Scottish, and I love her. But yeah, this film, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to say because I don't want to spoil anything. This is a movie that so few people know about, and it's such a niche thing. Like, it has less than 1,000 ratings, I think, on all of Letterboxd. So, I definitely think it's definitely a niche thing. It's this director Raul Ruiz. He's a Chilean filmmaker. He's apparently very experimental. I wouldn't say this film feels experimental. It definitely feels like something different for Daryl Hannah, for sure, because she's usually in like dramas, like straight up dramas or action movies. Sometimes romance, like Splash. I've still never seen Splash. Never really wanted to. Maybe someday. But if you go into this looking for like a super fast-paced thriller or something like that, I feel like you're going to be disappointed, because I just don't think this is definitely a slower paced film. If you go into it knowing it's a slower paced film, that it's not like an action film, there's a poster for this movie where there's Daryl Hannah with a knife, which is stupid because that never happens. There's one with Daryl Hannah with a gun, which never happens, which I don't know why the fuck they do that. And there's a poster where there's an exploded car. There are no explosions in the film. Like, I don't understand these people, like, faking all this shit. And, again, with how to find the film, the only way I've been able to see this film, and the only way I saw it last time, which was the first time I'd seen it, was through YouTube. It's a channel called Movie Central. And there's one small issue with that version of the film where I think there's a bit of nudity that it's cutting out. I've never seen the unedited version of this movie, but it's kind of like if you made a TV edit, but they still say fuck and shit throughout the movie. Not like a ton, but like I think there's a scene where Daryl Hannah's supposed to be naked. A couple scenes that have been cut out. I don't think they were really plot relevant, maybe. So I don't think you're missing anything. And the DVD for the film it's like nowhere to be seen. But the way that it cuts around the nudity scene, it'll kind of like zoom in on a part of the screen, and you'll see that during a scene where Sir Paul is taking a bath, and it looks weirdly zoomed in, and then there's a hard cut to another part of the scene where I guess they're cutting around Daryl Hannah being naked or being suggestive. So, yeah, I guess that's what it was, but it doesn't really take away from the movie from what I've seen. I haven't been able to see the full version again. I don't think it is anywhere other than this like Region B DVD on Amazon, and I don't really love this film that much to import a $40 DVD. So, yeah. But yeah, this film again, it's kind of a twisty turny, slow. It's a slow burn, but not like so slow that there's like nothing happening constantly. It's not like freaking Schindler's List or anything, like where you have like long stretches of nothing happening. There is stuff happening, and I think it's a entertaining enough movie. I guess that's this director's style. He likes his slow burns, but yeah. There's not really a ton I can say about this. I'll just say, if you're curious, I've linked the movie in the description. Go watch it, see for yourself if you like it, and yeah. Pros and cons, I guess I can get to. Pros: Tom Conti and Daryl Hannah are decent. Miriam Margolyes, Simon McCorkindale in their small roles. I wish Miriam was in it more. The score by... Who did the score? Oh Lord, it's not written here. Whatever. The score was decent. It worked. It was mostly kind of piano-y music. There's this gorgeous house that the film takes place around. That really does make for a nice setting. The film doesn't look too cheap production value wise. There's some decent writing, there's some decent bits of acting from Daryl Hannah that where she's being subtle, which I actually really like. And I really liked the twists at the end. I found them to be very interesting. Cons, I'd say, okay, this is kind of half a pro, half a con, because sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. Whenever Tom Conti shows his eyes, there's like skin over them. Sometimes when it's like a short shot of them, it looks to be kind of messy CG because it did kind of get distracting for me. But when they show them for a long time, you can tell that they're very obviously prosthetics, and they're good looking prosthetics. But I've never heard of someone, after having a crash and their eyes being destroyed, putting skin over their eye sockets. I've never heard of that. I don't think that's a real thing. If anyone is a doctor and could tell me that, I'd love to hear it. Again, there's bits where Daryl Hannah ain't that great. I wish this film had been shot at 24 frames because I'm not a big fan of smooth camera work like this, where it's almost smooth. Like, it almost feels like 45 frames for some reason, and then sometimes it feels very jittery, and I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather it be 24 frames, or if you're doing like a movie like Gemini Man, the cool like 60 frames, 120 frames thing. But here I wish it was shot at 24 frames. And yeah, that's about it. I think this is a decent thriller, and I hope others will watch it and make up their own minds for it, about them. So yeah, if you like the review, comment down below, like, subscribe, and Movie Reviewer Next Door, out.